Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, hopefully. Today's video is basically just a bit like a sit down, let's all have a talk kind of thing, because I feel like everyone needs to have this talk. I am going to be discussing some very sensitive topics, especially around suicide and mental health issues and stuff like that. So if you are offended by anything like that, or you feel like you may be triggered or stuff like that, then guys, please really think about if you want to listen to this video or not. Obviously, stigma around mental health has changed quite a bit over the past few years. However, I do feel like there is still a lot of stuff that people say and do, and then they kind of just brush it off as if to say, well, it doesn't really count kind of thing. But I feel like nowadays people are a lot more sensitive towards things, but they're sensitive towards the wrong kind of things. What I mean by this is, like, people are more concerned about, you know, if something says on a pack of tissues man size, than actually how they're thinking about writing a post about how someone looks on social media. And it's that kind of uneven balance that I think we need to talk about. One big thing that I think is just still a huge problem with mental health is the fact that it's not a physical illness. To put it into terms better for people who never understand mental health illnesses, this is the best way I can describe it. It's like having a broken leg, okay? You have this broken leg, and you know, everyone knows that you've broken your leg. Everyone can see that you've got a cast on, and everyone can tell, you know, that it's really getting you down. You know, you can't go do the things that you normally do. You can't go to the gym because you've broken your leg. You can't go to work because you've broken your leg and you need your leg to work. You need your leg to get about. So what do? You just go off sick and, you know, hope that the leg will heal better and you can get back into your same routine. So now imagine someone's mind that you can't see. So you can't see my mind, okay? Now imagine that broken leg, but as someone's brain, okay? So, like, this is the best way I can describe it. That person's brain is feeling a little bit broken at the minute. It's feeling a little bit fragile. It doesn't feel like going to the gym. It doesn't feel like putting effort into stuff. And it just overall has shut down how it's feeling. However, no one else can see this. Only that one person can sit there and feel that their brain isn't working properly. Now imagine that you as a person, you've broken your leg, and you are now being told that you're going to be stuck with this broken leg for quite a long time, so you're going to have to actually drag this leg around. That is what mental health feels like. It feels like I'm constantly dragging a heavy as fuck broken leg around, but in my head. And no one else can see that I'm struggling. No one else can tell that I'm broken. Only I can tell that. And I think a thing around mental health is that, you know, it's still not seen as an illness. Some people are still, don't get offended by this, people who are older than me, but are stuck in their ways, especially the older generation. So, like, you know, you've got to be a man's man, you've got to man up a bit and stuff like that. Life is not like that anymore. Like, you know, when people say to me about my tattoos, they say, you know, about my job and stuff like that. And I think at the end of the day, times are changing, so it shouldn't matter what I look like. And it shouldn't matter if someone has mental health issues. They should still be able to have time off sick and not feel ashamed for it. And I definitely feel that workplaces should enforce some, like, I honestly do think that, you know, for the NHS, we need to have more funding in mental health, especially for our staff, because we are the ones that are struggling the most, like especially nurses and everything like that. Long hours, long shifts, little pay, and we are struggling mentally, physically, and I really feel that if we had that extra bit of support in the workplace, things may be a little bit easier for people. I know personally for me, I have, if you've seen my last video, you will know that I've had some time off sick, and basically that really helped me to clear my mind, and I actually now feel a lot better about work because I feel like they do really understand me, well, my line manager at least, and care about, you know, my feelings and making sure that I'm getting better rather than carrying on working when I'm not feeling like I can work. Because like I said, mental health illnesses and physical illnesses are exactly the same as one another, and anyone who says different, there's really nothing to say for you kind of people, because at the end of the day that just goes to show what kind of person you are. And if you believe that someone shouldn't have time off for mental health to gain that bit of power back to themselves, to gain that bit of relaxation and time off from the stress of work, then I'm afraid I don't agree with you, and I think that it's very wrong and disgusting. Another big stigma about mental health is obviously the reaction of other people. So the stigma of mental health, if you talk about how you're feeling and that you're feeling depressed and stuff like that, that you're looking for attention, and that's not the case, okay? So we talk, people like me who suffer with this, and you guys who may be watching this, we talk about things like this so that other people are aware and that other people don't feel alone like how I did. Like I said, when I first started growing up with this, when I was about 14, 13, obviously I didn't have as much of like the internet kind of YouTube kind of people that I look up to, like, and stuff like that, as much as people do nowadays. So I constantly felt like I was kind of on my own, and like no one really understood how I felt. But nowadays obviously we have such a bigger community of people who love to talk about mental health, such as people like me. But then there's so many other people who then preach about mental health, and then they go and tweet something like, oh my god, have you seen the size of this girl's, I don't know, stretch marks or stuff like that. And then you think, there is just still so much stigma surrounding mental health, and I feel that social media is trying to make out like there isn't, and people are so welcoming for it, because they're really not. And I'm actually going to tell quite a personal story. I'm not going to mention where it happened, and I am not going to mention who. So I was in this room, not in this room, but I was in another room with a number of people, and let's just say we were going round introducing ourselves, let's say that. We get to this one person and she introduces herself and she says, you know, I'm blah blah blah, and then this woman says, she's describing what her job is. And I think it's really important to share this story because, one, it just goes to show even professionals sometimes struggle to understand how people's mental health works. She helped people in all different kinds of ways, but she also dabbled in a bit of like mental health, so that's why she was there. She turns around and she goes, yeah, I help people with mental health, but you know them ones that come in and they've just broken up from a relationship and they say they're depressed. She went, I just tried to get them out. So I'm sitting there like, this is awkward. This is very awkward, and I'm very angry because, one, she did not know that I actually suffered with mental health issues, and it was actually my breakup from my boyfriend that sort of like set off these feelings, and I'm not saying that it is the main reason, I'm just saying like that was the last straw that set off these reasons. And to hear a mental health person say that about a group of teenagers who are struggling, who go to them types of people for help, disgusted me. I really wanted to say to her, can I just add to your comment and just let you know that you've really hurt my feelings, you've made me feel about this big, and that my problems were actually just being ignored. And after that point, that is why I stopped trying to go for help, because I thought no one was really listening or caring. So if there is actually any healthcare professionals watching this, don't ever say to anyone anything like that, because you do not know what is going on in someone's life. That is just one thing of stigma. Like, let's just get them out, because they're not actually depressed, you know. But in real fact, people do just have to take one thing out of their lives, like I did. That one thing of me breaking up with my boyfriend, and it really pushed me over the edge, and I could have easily gone and committed suicide. And it just makes you really think, like, who actually does want to listen? That is why it is so important to try and get all of this stigma about mental health out. It doesn't matter what people have been through. I have been through quite a lot of experience, quite a lot of, in my 21 years I've been alive, and it's contributed to me having mental health illnesses. But then again, other people have experienced things that are less, you know, severe as may of what I have, so they still suffer with depression, because, you know, it just doesn't choose just one certain amount of people, it can choose anyone and everyone. And I think that's one thing that people get very mistaken as well, is that, you know, people who are seen as very happy and go around very happy doing what they do. So for example, very famous people like Robin Williams, when he committed suicide, I was so utterly shocked. I was laying in bed watching Family Guy and scrolling through Twitter, and then I saw this tweet, and I really could not believe it, because obviously all his films are comedy. He's never really shown a side where he's been depressed, especially to the press and like everything like that. Everything's been very behind closed doors, and that's when it hits home, you know, when people start to commit suicide who come across very comical and, you know, try to show off this big face. It's not always as it seems, and, you know, that's why it's always really important as well to be careful what you say to people. Another huge thing is obviously the male population with mental health, and I just want to say to you people out there, especially to the male population who may be watching this, that do not feel embarrassed about admitting that you're struggling mentally, because we live in a day and age now, guys, where women wear the trousers, you know, men stay at home and watch the kids, not the women. You know, we don't need to stay in that 1960s vibe of, you know, men have to be strong and men have to wear the trousers in the relationship and men have to do this and men have to do that and women have to cook and da da da. We live in 2019, guys. Like, we should be able to speak about our feelings openly and honestly without having to feel embarrassed. But I know for me, I struggled really hard to admit to my issues. So if I think about it in the male point of view, I can just imagine how hard it may actually be to admit that you're mentally struggling. But I've actually spoke to a few boys actually, or men, sorry, that you know, have actually opened up to me and said that they have struggled and stuff like this, and that they feel a lot better watching me. But I can still tell that there are some people out there who do follow me who view my stuff, but I know that they are too scared still to maybe message me or just say like, I understand how you feel and stuff like that. I just want you guys to know, I'm going to put my Instagram and my Twitter right here, that I will never ever ever tell anyone about personal issues. I don't even tell my partner if people have messaged me about their mental health, because to me, you guys are just wanting to talk to me about it. I would not want anyone sharing my personal stuff if I went to them. So I just wanted you guys to know that if you do need someone to talk to, I'm always going to be there, and everything that you do say to me is 100% confidential. I will give you my honest opinion about everything. I will try to give you the best possible advice that I can and uplift you as much as I can. So I wrote, a woman finds it sometimes easy to show emotion and express how she feels. However, discussing mental health, women find extremely hard. And I can vouch that for myself, like I've said. So just take a moment to think how hard it is for a man to have to talk about how they are feeling. Now, this shouldn't be the case, but I've seen it myself many times, and often men are at a higher risk of suicide due to this stigma. So that is obviously very true. Men are more likely to commit suicide than women are, and that is purely because men bottle up their feelings and they feel that they can't speak to anyone or get help for what's happened. And I also feel that a lot of men may hide how they feel because of the reason why they're depressed. I read a story in the newspaper a while ago, very heartbreaking story about a man he was a straight man, and he went to the pub and he got date raped. And I cannot find the article. I've been trying to find it all day and I cannot find it, but if I do, I will put the link below. And he was so down and depressed, and he had a girlfriend at the time and he didn't want to tell her about it and everything like this, which then left him in a very deep depression. And he then obviously didn't want to tell people as to why he was feeling depressed, but obviously it all came out. And that man is now a very big person for male rape victims, and also about male mental health. And he said it was really embarrassing to come out with and to say, because he felt like it was his fault, but once he realised it wasn't his fault, it made things a lot more easier. And I just want to say, if you are feeling down, you are feeling depressed, don't feel guilty about that, guys. You've got to let them emotions out. So the past year has really opened the door for male mental health, and to let everyone know that it's okay to be a man and a woman. I know I seem to be focusing on men, but I feel like it is a big stigma more around men, but for men and women, the past year, so rest their souls, Mike from Love Island and Sophie from Love Island, they were just normal people, average people who went on a TV show, and once they came out, they couldn't handle life outside. They were abused online. They had Sophie had a lot of slut shaming and stuff like that after the show, because she had sex on the show, which you're going to watch that show and that's going to happen, so why comment on it? Do you know what I mean? And Mike, he had kind of this bad boy reputation and stuff like that. He got a lot of attention, but no one knew that he was feeling very low after his nan passed away. And unfortunately, there was nothing really that anyone noticed big enough for them to take any action. And the thing is about that is that I know, reading back on some of the articles, that some of Mike's friends felt so guilty. They said that they texted him literally an hour before the incident took place and stuff like that. And I just want everyone to know this. The people who are watching this who have lost someone, please don't blame yourselves, because if that person wanted to commit suicide, there isn't much that people can do to stop that person, because if that's something they want to do, that is going to be something that they want to do. and I think it's really hard for families because they feel like they failed and then they fall into a depression because of their loved one leaving and everything like that, and it's a vicious cycle. So that is why it's so important to know that it really is not your fault for someone taking their life if they have taken their life. Obviously there's very many different situations where people may be too I don't want to say it because I'm going to upset people. I know I am. But we're being honest. I have heard so many different stories about people who have committed suicide and stuff like that. And I think the biggest issue with stigma around mental health is talking about suicide. So for one example, me and my mum have never really sat down and spoke about the times when she did try to kill herself. I've never really asked why. I've never really wanted to know why and stuff like that. But I sit here now and I want to know what was going through her head, and I want to know, did it feel the same as what I was thinking like, or is it on a different level, if you get what I mean. I guess the stigma around suicide is that people find it too grotesque to kind of talk about, like the thought of someone killing themselves. So for example, 13 Reasons Why, I watched that, and obviously the scene in that has now been removed of the girl killing herself. I personally did not think that was that bad, considering half of the stuff that I've seen. And I think that's another problem with people, that, you know, they want to still pretend that it doesn't happen, but it really does. And until it happens to you or your family, you know, I think you will never understand. But it really did shock me that 13 Reasons Why was all about, you know, suicide prevention, stuff like that, and looking out for the signs. And then people have actually gone to the extent to complain about suicide. So that's where I get really annoyed and frustrated, because I think that show, it didn't even show much of her doing what she was doing, and they found that offensive. Like, what? I don't understand that. I really just don't understand that. But all to their own. I guess I've got a harder skin than some people, and other people haven't got hard skin, and I guess I can watch things like that and feel some sort of peace. That may sound so fucking weird, but hopefully you understand what I mean. I just also want to say, like, social media and everything like that, if you're going to preach about mental health, like, don't then go and bully a, like, celebrity or someone off Love Island and comment on how shit they look, or how their voice is annoying, or how their personality is boring. If you think that, then maybe you should keep that to yourself. Social media does not help mental health as much as they think it does. I mean, I'm trying to do this on YouTube, and I find it hard to kind of find the courage to do stuff like this. So people like trolls, no, I'm not going to discuss that. I'm not even going to discuss that, because they're not even worth it. At the end of the day, if you're a troll and you want to push someone to commit suicide, you are the lowest of the low. Like, seriously. And if you fucking comment on my video, mate, and try to troll me, I'm just gonna laugh. So stigma around mental health is still right. I feel that ageism and stigma is still there. I feel that people who comment on people's relationship stigma is still there. People still think if you're smiling and you're happy all the time, that, you know, how can you be depressed? Like, because I fucking can, okay? Newspapers and magazines. Don't sit there and say how someone's committed suicide because of bullying and da 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 da, and then the next fucking day you then post an article about how someone's put weight on, and you don't think that's going to upset someone or affect someone's mental health. Like, don't sit there and preach about how we're trying to help mental health, but then you're gonna basically body shame people, make them feel like shit, put their personal life absolutely everywhere for entertainment, just for you. I hope that you guys like this rant. I just had to just say some of that stuff because I feel like people are too scared sometimes to admit and speak about openly stuff like that. There's so much more that I could have fucking ranted about and talked about, but it would be a long ass video. I think it would be the longest fucking video in the world, because I could sit here and talk about it all day long. Give this video a like and subscribe, and yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you want to join in the Stigma rant about mental health, comment below, message me on my social medias, because I know you guys probably have a lot more to say about stigma, and if people want me to do more rants and be completely honest about this world and mental health, then just give this video a thumbs up, and I am more than happy to